when we look at this, it's actually quite makes a lot of sense now. Like front side, back side legs, we talked about these as the greediest levels on the chart prior versus the strongest levels, right? So then different time frames, and let's take a look. Okay, we're going to delete all these levels that we don't really need anymore. We're just going to leave that one there because it's still being used, obviously. This one, and we kind of need this one because you know what? Here was the front side of the leg. Here was this range, right? The front side of the leg was in this range. So now we're going to have something else inside this right here. So what happens there? Let's go take a look. Okay. Let's go right here. So you already have the greediest entry point that was hit, right? So then we can kind of go in here and you already have the greediest entry point was hit. So there's nothing left, right? Like we already looked at this as the leg of the move and there's nothing left holding the move up. Like there's nothing. The greediest point was hit. It was used to launch the move, right? So like this being the leg right here, already had the greediest point right here hit, which is the front side of the leg. And then we have the next untested front side of the leg because this one was tested. This front side was not tested. So it kind of becomes like the perfect spot to enter trade, right? You kind of have this moment where it completely goes up. And then what was the moment where, you know, you would look in here and say, okay, how can this thing continue to ladder? So even here you would go and kind of try to find the greediest part to this move, right? Like you would find the greediest point in this move and let's maybe go to a 15-minute, maybe that's too big in time frame. So you would have the backside of the leg right here, which I'm sure bounced the move. And then you would have the front side of the leg, which would be all the way. I would actually I would actually say it's right here because it can't go any lower than this because this is already a tested level. So it can't really go any lower than this. If it goes lower than this, it's kind of broken the move. So kind of the moment it touches this, the move is kind of dead in the water, right? Because this is already breaking the leg. Like it can't really lose this range at this point, right? Like it has to kind of range define somewhere, you know, even here, I'm sure in 1 minute time frames, it has a hold level here, which is protecting this piece, which is already testing, you know, whatever it's testing back here, whatever little 1 minute greedy level is in here. I'm sure there's something, some little valley in here. That's the greediest point. Yeah. It's the, you know, top of the valley. There's the greediest point. And so be it. It hits it twice. And then that's like the perfect spot to enter the front side of like the greediest point, but kind of the quote unquote lowest point it could ever be, right? Then you'd have the same thing here. It's like the lowest point of the move. And then you'd have the same thing as it goes up. You'd have this right here as the lowest point of the move. It's already kind of creating this perpetual ladder for itself. So these are all levels that they, you know, once one collapses, they all, you know, take away the first domino and the whole house of cards falls down, right? Like this is already gone. This is already gone. This is already gone. This is already gone, right? We've already tested that. So let's actually find the next greediest level. Like where is it, right? So then you would look in, even in this range right here, and maybe we'll take our replayer tool back to this range before we see what happened in the moment, because I'm actually not quite sure. So we'd have to go in here and see where the leg of the move starts, right? Go into this moment and say, okay, the leg of this move is kind of right in this range here, actually. Kind of right in this range because it looks like this has already been tested, right? Like this break level's already been tested. So if the break level's already been tested, there has to be something between this and this. And if not those two, that and this. So something in this range of 3 candles, this to this or this to this, right? So that we can even go in here and look. It really doesn't look like there's anything. The backside of this leg was actually already tested, you see. So now we actually have to look for the front side of this leg. Now we can kind of go in here and dive into time frames and say, okay, so this backside's tested, making this the backside, which makes this the front side. And you may get super greedy and go here. I really doubt it. I don't think so. I think, you know, this is the backside of this leg and the front side of the leg here. And you know, we keep adjusting this term, the backside to the front side, because what was once the backside, or sorry, what was once the front side will be something else's backside, right? You know, has this moment in time been tested? Because now you have 2 legs and you're already in this. Where did we leave off here? We moved up to that level. We came here. We tested this. We tested up. Okay, so we already had all these levels collapsed down. I thought we had already done this part of the chart. Oh, it's okay. We'll go through it again anyway. So anyways, again, here's that piece of the leg. Everything else is already broken. So like it has to move up off this, right? And then the same thing on this side. You'd have the front side and back side of legs, right? Like you go to the 15-minute charts here and you'd have backside of the leg here, which you can see is already tested, which means you're going after the back front side combination here, which is going to be something like this, right? The greediest points versus like even here, something like this. So this is already tested. So that's gone. You can see if it's going to hold its range. That's fine. But then it goes after the backside frontside combination here, right? Backside right here, and quite possibly something even lower time frame. Yeah, it's right there. So backside, front side, right? So you have this kind of combination backside, front side levels here. And it simply hits trend and the backside level and pulls back, right? So I think at this point, we are hit this. Yep, this one's gone. And you'd have the same thing back here, right? Like this would have been backside right here. It's tested, which means this is kind of like the range combination here versus here, right? So you've got kind of this range combination here. You've already tested this. So you might as well not even target this because this is already tested. You might as well not even target that. So then you kind of have this range right here. See what happens here. 5-minute charts. Boy, these things take time. Well, we're getting pretty close. So there's the first range test, right? Back up to trend. And then this is gone. So we can basically already destroy this, right? And there's a test right there. You can see it off of this right here. There's some kind of front side, backside combination that's testing here against trend, right? So that's fine. We know it's there. We're going to go to a different time frame because this is taking a little too long on the 5-minute charts. Then we kind of have like the last untested piece of this chart, right? You have the last untested piece of this chart. And then inside here, you're going to have another, again, this is some kind of range combination inside of this, right? Like you're going to have some kind of backside, front side range combination, like right here, right? Like some kind of combination where it's the backside, front side, that's protecting the entirety of the leg of the move. So this is continue laddering as long as it's off the front side of the leg, right? Like it can continue to ladder off this as long as it doesn't break its range, right? We have trend and trend pushes up. So you break trend, that very straightforward. You break trend and you go probably to your range bind up here, right? Like there's going to be a range bind in this region here. Same kind of range bind, and then it goes to that point there. Okay, so we did get to this point in the chart. So this is what we were looking at. We did break that trend, and we were looking at this was kind of the final level. So that's where we left it off. So we can actually go back here and we can go to our 5-minute charts, and you can see where you kind of have this last untested level because we had deleted all these ones because this one was tested and then, further up was tested and so forth. And so we had kind of this little, 1-minute level in here. So if this gets lost and we can't hold this, the move is collapsing because we know we already had pre-broken everything else down. Like we already deleted all these levels. Like that's what we did earlier. We had this level here and that was already tested. And then we had range bind right here, right? And this was tested. So this was tested. So kind of like when you lose this one, there's no levels left, right? There's actually nothing left on the chart. So that if you can't hold this, and then the final moment in this would have been whatever's over top of this. I suppose you could move this to here, right? Something relatively here. Like you touch this again and you're going to be in trouble. Yeah, so you touch it again, you lose it, you regain it, but at that point the move is already broken, right? Like you've already collapsed the ranges on the move. That leaves us with what's next. Like this is already been tested here, right? That 5069 was already tested. So what's our next one here? 4600. That was like the next untested non-broken level. There's possibly something right here. You could make a case for this right here. But this would be pretty thin. You could make a case for one of these two levels. It would be pretty thin though. If anything, I'd go for the greedier attack. So if anything, you could make a case for this level, and possibly 5006 ends up being a point where, some injection comes in, but I don't know if I would trade that. Like it's pretty tough. Like, yeah, so fine. You have a little bit of time here where you have some, vertical movement, but it's just so thin. Like I would really be targeting the next untested level here. This, whatever this 4674 level is, like it's pretty perfect, right? Like it's the next kind of untested range bind of this move. So then, we can even kind of just get rid of this trend. I don't really think we need this trend anymore. I'm not quite sure what this is. It looks like this is that other trend there. 46 and 43 are some levels here that we would look at. Let's just maybe move this up in time frame. Maybe a 1 minute candle might take a little too long. We might be here all day. If TradingView will allow it, we will like to go to the 5 minute charts here. If TradingView will let us, and you never know with these things. Okay. It skipped through the move. Well, that's okay. We're here anyways now. So what we would have to do here is take a look at what actually happened, because we know we tested this and this was gone. So did we actually miss something? Like, was this an error in our charts? Like what happened here? Hopefully we can go back on the 3 minutes long enough. So you've got the backside of the lake here. You've got possibly this as the greediest point. Like there's nothing, there's 1 minute stuff in here, right? Like there's like 1 minute candles in here and stuff like that. And as the move is developing, I suppose you could take a look and see how it's moving and developing, but I would feel a lot safer taking those trades there. But yeah, I suppose you could go in the moment and see how that move is developing. And then, if it hits one of these extreme levels, then fine, so be it, it does. But 46 looked pretty good in my opinion, where we originally had it marked, which was, I believe it was this right here, 46.34 or something of the sort. It was something in here, which is perfectly fine. This looked pretty good, and so fine, it holds the move up, doesn't close a necessary time frame. A tough trade to take because this is a liquidation on a contract trade, but again, it's the same token. There is no bottom to the coin at this point because we don't have a trend yet developed. So, taking any trade at that point, like if I was targeting anything, I would target this. I don't think I'd be trying to take big trades against this level here. If anything, I would have been targeting this. And if it doesn't get filled, I don't go in the trade, because quite simply, where it's going from here is kind of like, this is the level it's targeting. You can see it's quite clear that it's targeting that level. Just volatility falls through and then it needs to get back over top of it. So that's fine. It went after the backside of a leg, but it's a pretty gnarly knife catch. Let's put it that way, right? So let's continue on this move. You're going to have the same thing on the top side of the move too. Like if you look at the top side of the move and you say, this is the leg that protects the move, you still have a range bind on this. Even more interior to the move. Like even if you go to this point here, you still have, maybe we can use a bigger time frame here. Maybe we'll see if there's anything notable on the 4 hours. So we know that this is the leg of the move here, which means that it has to be somewhere between these 2 points, the range bind, right? So we know that there's like a 1 hour right here. That's pretty decent. Do we have a front side, back side here? So we have this, and the front side of the lake here would just be the valley that's protecting it. So where is that point here? That's the 4 hour candle here. So it has to be within this range here, between this point and that point there. So then you'd have something like this. This is already tested, right? Like this is, already tested. Where was that point? The first original point right there. So you'd have something like that and like this. The front side and the back side of this break level right here. And, you'd have the same thing back here. You'd have a backside range and a front side range right here. Backside and a front side that protects this valley back here. You could have something even greedier in there. We could dissect every candle. We don't need to. You can go to every small little time frame and see where the backside and front side ranges. So, if you're here in the moment, that would be because we have to mark the top of the candle to find it, which would be here. So it's the greediest level inside of that. So, you'd have your range right here somewhere. Like this is the greediest level before breaking the move. In this case, you broke the move. So, you're going to move up. Very straightforward and simple. You broke the move, you're going to move up, right? Exactly what break levels represent and exactly where holds and breaks make a difference in the chart, in the architecture going forward, right? So even here in this moment, you'd have the backside, front side range, right? So assumingly this hit the backside range. And front side range breaks the move, right? Same thing we saw here. The signs that a move is breaking, right? And so forth and so forth, right? So you always have two ranges to a candle, right? Like looking on this side of the chart, let's do it like that. Let's look on this side, because all we did was look at kind of the targets in one direction. So here you'd have backside range versus the front side range, right? And go to this on the hourly and see where the leg of the move is. The leg of the move is down here. So, you're going to have a duality of ranges here. You're going to have a backside, front side, and then you're going to have one on the back of the leg and one on the front of the leg. Backside range and your front side range, right? So you have the backside range and the front side range.